Hey guys, it's Andrea from Pink Cake Princess. Today I'm going to show you how to create this gorgeous bell cake. Now as a bonus you'll see how to create the second tier as well. So for the bottom tier I'm using a 9-inch round cake, which I'm filling with my cocoa buttercream. And I'm just doing a quick coat around the edges before I set it in the fridge for about half an hour. Now I'm just applying a second coat of Swiss meringue buttercream and then using my scraper just to scrape off the excess. Using my palette knife just to smooth over the top, and then I'm going to let it set in the fridge again till it firms up. Now onto my white fondant icing, just rolling it out, turning it every so often and checking to make sure that it's big enough to go over on top of my cake. Smoothing the edges over gently and using my cake smoothers to help me smooth out the cake. And then using a pizza cutter or roller cutter just to cut off the excess at the bottom, and using my little piece of plastic cutter just to trim off the bottom. You can of course just use your roller cutter to do this as well. And now just applying a little bit of water to my cake board and then attaching my fondant icing to cover it. Now I've let my cake board and my cake set and firm up before I've placed it on top of each other, attaching it with a little bit of raw icing. Using my dowels and then trimming them to size before I insert them into the cake for support. Now for my doll cake I'm using 4 round cakes which I'm stacking on top of each other. I've cut a hole out of the 3 top cakes, and with the top cake I've carved it to look like a dome shape. You can see it in more detail with my Cinderella doll cake. Just applying my initial layer of Swiss meringue buttercream and then my second layer. Now placing it on top of my cake with a little bit of royal icing just to attach. And I'm ready to decorate the cake. Okay, I'm going to create 2 layers of frills around the bottom of the doll cake. So I'm rolling out some white fondant icing and I'm using my circle cutters to cut out my fondant. Dusting my fondant so that it doesn't stick to my surfaces, and using a wooden skewer to frill up my fondant. Just thinning the edges out as I'm pressing it down. And then placing it onto my cake. I'm using pre-coloured yellow fondant icing from Pettinice, and I'm mixing it with 50% white icing just to make it more easy to work with. I'm using a 14-inch cake board just as a guide, so that I can cut out my circle. Now lifting it up and placing it on top of my cake, and then just gently going around and just shaping the skirt. And then smoothing over the top so that it's nice and smooth with my hands. I'm just measuring the circumference around the cake, which is about 22 inches. Rolling out my strip of fondant. And I'm going to cut them into roughly 8-inch strips by about 1 inch wide. Using a couple of wooden skewers just to shape them, and then I'm going to trim them in half and then shape them. I'm going to need at least 7. And based on my measurement of the circumference, they should roughly be about 3 or just over 3 inches in width. And now attaching these pieces onto my cake. And I'm using a 1 centimeter straw cutter. I'm just going to put an indent in the middle. Attaching them onto the cake with a little bit of water, and then also attaching my little silver cashews Balling up a tiny little ball of yellow fondant just to attach my candles, and now creating the letters for the name. I'm using my FMM Brand letter cutters in capital. I'm using a number 7 cutter just to cut out my 7, and then inserting a wire and also a white backing at the back. Letting this set and firm up, and then attaching all my pieces onto the cake. Okay, now here's my doll. I've chose one that has a plastic top, so I don't need to cover that. And I'm just wrapping her legs in cling wrap. And now she's ready to go in the cake. Gently press her in. And then just to cover up the seal, I'm rolling out some yellow fondant and then attaching it on with some water. Trimming off the excess. And then gently pressing down. Okay, attaching my number 7 and also covering the wire with a little bit of fondant. And the final touches, adding ribbons around the cake. Attaching with a little bit of royal icing at the back. And that's it, that's my Belle cake. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, you can check out some of these other tutorials on my channel. Check out the Cinderella doll cake to see how I carved the cake for the doll's skirt. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more sweet treats on my channel.